So, Mitch Russo is our host, of course, and the author of Coach Elevation, the genius behind Client Folio, and has worked with a couple of coaches you may have heard of, like what's his name, Tony something Robbins. That's his name, Tony Robbins. Some of you may have. Anyone ever heard of Tony Robbins? A couple of you. All right, good. So, Mitch, what will you be sharing with us today?
Well, a couple of things I wanted to cover, but before I get into my presentation, I promised people the formula that I use to get unbelievable, over-the-top, incredible testimonials that do all of my selling for me. Would anybody like that, by the way, if I did share it?
That sounds pretty good. I do see
Okay,
some hands.
only two people raised their hands. Okay, well, all right. Well, maybe more do. Okay, great. All right, so this basically in chat, you could copy and paste this. This is the formula I've been using probably for close to 20 years now on how to get a great testimonial and how to help people who you work with really focus in on the work you did together and what that true benefit really is to them and how to encapsulate it for them and for you as well. So please take a look at the chat and copy that. The other thing is that we got some new coaches in this group as well. And I wanted to share 7 words that were impactful to me and many others as we were getting started in trying to present what we do in a very simple and quick way. So if you have a pencil and paper or you have a notepad, write down these 7 words. Okay, so here's the 7 words. You know how what we do is. So the reason I wanted to share these with you is because a lot of people don't know how to talk about what they do. So you know how coaches have a hard time struggling with all of the paperwork and admin related to coaching sessions. Well, what we do is created a system that consolidates all of that into one place, one browser, so you can present professional, detailed homework all the time to your clients with full summaries and the ability to go check all past sessions instantaneously. So if you write that down and you encapsulate what you do into you know how and what we do is, you'll find it much easier to present what it is that you do. So I hope that was of value to everybody in the room. Now we're going to get on with the presentation.
So I'll say that is the simplest, most concise way to create a statement. Because I've seen some that are like 4 steps long, 5 steps. You have 19 different whole. Just the, you know how what we do is amazing. It's so simple and so easy. So
right. So put that on your list of things that you will take away from the summit if you feel of its value to you, and then we'll go from there. Now I'm going to start. I have a couple of slides I'm going to share with you, but I'm going to deviate from the slides a lot because I don't want to turn this into a canned presentation. So I'm going to pretty much show you what it is I'm going to cover today. And we're going to really focus in on why and how to get coaches to 6 figures and practically, in some cases, 7 figures. And really what it is that I do to unlock hidden fees, higher fees and better results, and really how to manage all of this as well. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And let me go back, just a quick background here. When I started coaching, I was charging $500 a day. And you know what? You're not going to get to 6 figures on $500 a day very quickly. And needless to say, today's rates are a little bit higher than that. But the bottom line is that all of this happened quite naturally. It wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. And more importantly, it was really something that my clients encouraged me to do. So let me start the presentation and how we're going to do this today. So why is this important? Well, look, you got to build a life here. Coaching is a life. Coaching is a business, and it's a passion. And I want it to be successful, and I want it to be fulfilling for you. I also want it to be easier, and I also want you to do it by increasing your authority. So you do that using the testimonial formula I already gave you. And of course, we talked about charging rates. Well, and the reason this is important now is because clearly you have to up-level your skills, particularly with Chat GPT on the scene. You could literally type into Chat GTP, and basically say, how do I improve my coaching program? And you'll get help. But more importantly is you have to increase your experience and skill. And that's what this is about today. And if you're not happy with the amount of money you're making, then heck, this is a great way to take a look at that. Real briefly, I think you may know some of my background. I started a software company in 1985. God, I'm old. And I took that company and ended up scaling it to 250,000 customers. And we sold that company 9 years later. I've written 3 books. I've been a 7-figure coach now for some years. I have almost 25 years of coaching experience, and I have 300 episodes for my podcast. So the only point of me saying all that stuff is to tell you that I kind of have a lot of experience in helping people do this. So what we find is that there's something that I discovered early on that I never quite figured out how to articulate until recently. And it comes down to understanding who you're working with, and it's the client's true purpose. Now, you might say, well, that's pretty straightforward, maybe even simple, maybe even simplistic. But if you don't find your client's true purpose, and if you don't help them uncover their true mission, and then you don't help them align them to the work that you're doing, then it's going to be hard for you to really make the progress that you want to make, particularly if you're charging what I would consider a lot of money. I just recently worked with a coach who was charging $150 an hour. And by the time we were done working together, they were charging $1,000 an hour. And now they're thinking of raising their rates again. Why? Because they were able to figure out exactly how to deliver the highest level of value, given what it is that they know and the people that they're attracting. And I want to do that today for you as well. So we have some simple goals here. We also want to provide as much value as possible. So really in this, let's just keep going here, because we're going to do some things that are interesting that you'll see in a minute, like unlock hidden reserves of motivation. And we're going to do this using the Coach Elevation method. Now I'm going to teach you this method, but more importantly, I'm also going to give you the 3rd book that I wrote called Coach Elevation for free. So Michael, if you put the link in the chat, which is simply coachelevation.com, what people will be able to do is download what I'm about to explain for free. And if you follow my lead here, you're going to be able to do exactly what I do, what took me almost 20 years to figure out. So we want to identify the deeper motivation of clients. And of course, we want to, once we do that, we want to make sure that what we're doing fits into what they want and align with their own goals. And a lot of what I found in my life is that if I don't hold people accountable, nothing gets done. We could say that we want to hold people accountable, and we could quote unquote talk a good game, but until you do it, it just doesn't work. And how does this show up? Well, it shows up as low fees, lack of renewals. And when you suggest to people that they could raise their prices, they say, well, if I raise my prices, all of my clients would leave me. And of course, we know what the answer to that question is. You have the wrong clients. So let's figure out how to avoid that, right? And of course, the other part of that, as we talked about, are the testimonials. So if you're not living the life you want as a coach, then let's fix that. Let's up-level your life. And here's the pathway to do it. So the Coach Elevation system is very simple. And the accountability process is very simple. To monitor it is also very simple as well. And what I'm going to do is go a little bit off script here, and I'm going to reveal to you the entire Coach Elevation process in 5 minutes. Now, you might say, well, Mitch, why should I read the book? And the reason you want to read the book is because the nuances in the book will help you dial it in better for the work that you're doing. So what this comes down to is that everybody who's listening to me today has the same true purpose. Now, that may sound ridiculous, but ultimately, what most everybody's true purpose is, except maybe Vladimir Putin, is to help others. So bottom line is that we're all here to help others. Now, the question is how, right? But here's something very important. Most people don't know that they're here to help others. But if we help them understand how that they can do that, and then align what you teach them to basically work within their system of helping others, it makes a huge difference and they become very successful. So I have testimonials here. I don't have enough time to play them for you, so I'm going to skip that. But again, this is an example of a client who came to me for help. I went through the same 3 pillars that I'm showing you today, and her results were off the charts. And I got to tell you, I mean, most of the work I do the results are off the charts because I have a system, because I have a process. I follow a process that I have perfected over the years, and I hold my clients really accountable. So let me stop this because I know it's going to be a video here. And so what I want you to do for a second, if you wouldn't mind, is to think about the last 3 clients that you had, or even the single last client you had. And I want you to come up with 3 numerical goals that if you would have held them accountable to that, they would have been able to tell you and track the exact success they had. So if you can, jot them down in the chat box and tell me, what are the 3 numerical goals that you could use or did use or should use to hold your clients accountable? I'll give you like 30 seconds or so. And this basically is for any type of coach: weight loss coach, business coach, training coach, any type of coach, doesn't matter. Okay, while you're working on that, I have to ask, so far, are you guys getting some value out of what I'm saying? Okay, good. I wanted to make sure, because a lot of what I'm sharing now is simple, but if you don't apply it, it's not going to help any. And I want to make sure that you're applying. It's very important here, because I'm going to hold you accountable because this is what this is about. So accountability does equal continuous growth and progress. And this is really why I can get the results that I do. Yes, I perfected some coaching processes and I make them available to my clients, and I make them available to my students. But the bottom line is that it really comes down to accountability. So who here has an accountability partner? Put a 1 in the chat if you have or would like an accountability partner. Anybody? There we go. Okay. Now, do you know the value of an accountability partner? Again, I'm going to make some assumptions. You do, right? Because obviously, if you had an accountability partner, they would be holding you accountable. And if somebody's holding you accountable, do you think you will get more done every day, every week, every month? Yes or no? Shake your head, yes or no, or put a 1. Okay, good. Okay. So accountability, according to Tony, is a coach that gives you a clear action plan, arms you with a tool that you need to get results, which come only from holding people accountable. Tony taught me that a long time ago, and I guess I took it to heart because Tony held me accountable, and I decided to create a system to help people stay accountable. And that system is called Client Folio. So if you're wasting too much time on organizing, scheduling, admin, if every session is different, so results are different, if you're relying on manual systems and you're using all this free stuff that's available like Google Docs or whatever, or maybe you're using really expensive, hard to use software, that's what I tried to create, a product that would fix all of these problems at once. And that's called Client Folio. Now, some of you might even know many of my clients. We have hundreds of coaches using Client Folio today. And as she says, she's much better prepared for client conversations because of Client Folio. And by the way, every time you use Client Folio, your clients get a dashboard, which they can then use to track their own accountability, their past sessions, and make sure that they are not only reading, but responding to all of the homework that you provide them. The accountability questions are built into their portal, and you have the ability to modulate them on a per session basis, and they have the ability to answer them right in your portal. So the whole idea here is that if you have a tool that does all of this for you, it's sort of like Shay was saying, you need a team. Well, this is your electronic team. This keeps your clients fully engaged in the work you're doing. So the reason I did this is because of Bob. You guys know, I'm sure everybody here has had a Bob, right? I did this work for a client. His name was Bob. And this guy was just a bear to work with. He was not responding well. He wasn't what you'd call coachable. But yet I was still able to help the guy raise his revenue by 40% in 90 days, but he never acknowledged that I did it. And you know why? Because I didn't track goals, because I didn't track his progress every single session. And as a result of that, I had no proof at the end of the engagement to say, hey, Bob, look at all the great work I did. Because Bob says, well, you didn't do anything for me, right? So I knew I needed a tool to do that. And now you can have that tool too. Because if you use that tool, this is what your clients are going to get every single session that you run. So the other thing about this is the accountability questions. Now, even if you don't do this exercise with me right now, I'd like for you to start putting together a library of your own accountability questions that you think would greatly accelerate your client's progress every week. Just by having that little list and start using it, then you'll see what happens when you start working with clients on those type of accountability questions. So if you have one that you'd like to share with the group, please type it in. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to wait for that. I'm just going to let you keep going here. So one of the things that I want you to understand now that is if you do this, and if your clients find that they really need you, in fact, that you're indispensable to their success, that's part of the clients for life formula. And I want you to know that if you keep them in alignment, if they have, and you have established trust, and you motivate your clients to do the work that you're helping them to achieve through accountability and focus, then you are going to be able to have clients for life. Clients for life. Excuse me 1 second. I apologize. All right. What you're looking at is the cockpit of Clientfolio. So as you sit in front of your computer working with a client on Zoom, you could take notes, you could add assignments, you could ask accountability questions, and you could monitor past sessions. So all of that comes from the consistency, session to session, of your process being implemented step by step. And if you practice this proven formula, it will work every time. And it makes sense that you're going to get results. So most coaches are wasting too much time on all of the stuff that we don't really specialize in, what I call doing $10 an hour work during $1,000 an hour time. So if that's the case, then you're not really optimizing your workday, and you're not really capitalizing on your most productive time of day. For me, most productive time of day is about 6 hours a day. I'd rather spend that time with clients than on admin. So, and if you're still wasting your time on all this other stuff, then you're just not going to be able to make the kind of money that you want to make. Now, I did this because I couldn't find a system that did it. In fact, I bought 5 different coaching products to do it, and I never found one that worked. So I had to do what every great entrepreneur must do when they find a problem that hasn't been solved. You got to solve it. And that's what I did with Clientfolio. So if you decided that you wanted to raise your prices and you felt like you could get outrageous testimonials and you could prove it week after week with graphs and charts, and you over-delivered on every session, do you think you could raise your prices? Could someone please enter yes or no into the chat? Okay, good. All right. Well, it's that simple. Just do these things. Over-deliver, get testimonials, prove your worth, and raise your prices literally month after month, session after session. This is the sort of things that make great coaches successful. And by the way, if you could do this for one person, you could do this in a group. And if you perfect it first individually, and then you move it into a group, the effectiveness actually multiplies, as I've proven to myself and others have proven to me. So let's do a quick review. The old way, inconsistent results, sloppy sessions, no clear accountability, no goal tracking. What to do instead? Clear and concise coaching session outcomes with full accountability, numerical tracking, and it's important to do it now. Why? Because you don't want to stay where you are. You want to stay where you are more, where you are the most productive, where your brilliance shines through every single day during those peak 6 hours of the day. So what do you want to do? So I'm going to, at this point, stop the presentation. And I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to take some questions about both accountability, about Clientfolio, about being a coach. Who here has any questions they'd like to ask?
See Lori's hands up. have a spotlight on mute.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Lori.
So I already went and checked out the website for the whole thing and everything. Is there a payment processing, can you process your clients' payments through Client Folio?
Yeah, it'll be coming on Monday of next week. We're just releasing a new payments module next week.
Oh, wow. This is great because I've been looking at everything from Thinkific to Kajabi. Like, how can I put one-on-one coaching stuff in a space where it makes sense instead of a Google Drive folder?
Right.
So very happy to hear that you created this.
Yeah. Now I just want to be clear. What we do is we have a system that offers the base product for $29.97 a month, and we have modules that you can enable for about $20 a month. So the group coaching module, the mastermind module is $20 a month, and the new billing module will also be $20 a month. But it will allow you to pretty much handle any type of billing arrangement you have with your clients.
I love that it's tailored to coaching.
It is, because that was the one thing that I just simply couldn't find when I went looking.
I haven't been able to find it either.
Well, and here's the problem. I mean, there's a lot of coaching software platforms out there. Some of them are, and I paid as much as $300 a month for a coaching software platform. And what I found is that it was so confusing to use and didn't really get me where I wanted. And I really did not have the desire to create another software company, to be honest. But I felt compelled to do it. And I have gotten great feedback. And now with several hundred coaches being subscribers, it's really turned out to be very fulfilling for me as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so if there's no other questions, what I would like to do.
Wayne's got a question.
Oh, I don't see hands up. Wayne, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Unmute Wayne.
There we are. One thing about self-employed coaches is some of them are actually hobbyists, not coaches. Do you have any formulas or any math where you said, if you're doing this many people or you want this many people in your week, then you need us. And other than that, you're really a crossing guard. Enjoy your life.
Wayne, that's a good question. I have a feeling that people come into the coaching space usually because of experience. They've had an experience, they've mastered something very valuable and important. And after they figured it out, other people have come to them and said, how did you do that? And could you help us? So when I built a software company at 28 years old and grew it to over 10 million in revenue and then sold it, other software company owners came to me and said, Mitch, how did you do that? Can you help us do it too? That's how I became a coach. It wasn't because I woke up one day and said, wow, coaching could be a lucrative profession. I think I'll try that. Because we all know that coaches, for the most part, live at the poverty level or below. So maybe, if you feel as if crossing guard is your calling, then please go do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that too is that at $30 a month, if somebody has one client at $500 a month, it makes sense to have. It's not like it's not Kajabi at $300 a month or whatever it is. It's 30. I mean, it's less than I was paying for StreamYard. I think it's about what I'm paying for Shutterstock. So, it's a pretty affordable thing. So it's not like, where do you get your ROI? If you're charging more than, I don't know, $90 a month to your coaching clients combined, then it makes sense.
The other thing I wanted to point out was that this is not my main source of income. It's you might say that it's really ancillary in many ways. My main source of income is coaching clients. My main source of income is building certification programs at the highest level. So I work with companies from $5 to $50 million to build their multi-hundred consultant-based certification programs. And that's my second book, the one on the screen called Power Tribes. That's what that's all about. And that's what pays the bills, to be honest. The software we're talking about today, Client Folio, is my passion project. And by the way, you could have multiple passion projects. I love my clients and I'm passionate about working with them. But this to me is something that simply wasn't there, that my belief was that if I spent the money and created it and nobody bought it, I would be glad I did it because it would save me 6 to 8 hours a week on follow-up, admin time, and all of the confusion I had before it. So that's why I built it. That's why I created it. And yes, I still take private clients. I am sold out right now. I don't have space for more clients. I can only take 5 at a time because the work we do is very intense, but very valuable as well. So I just wanted to throw that out.
And Lisa, I see a check mark next to you. Is that your hand up or is that just your?
No, that was just answering a question. I thought it was going to come down automatically.
Check mark forever. All right. Are there any other questions for Mitch before he moves on? I don't see any. Looks like we are question free. Looks like Mitch might also be frozen. There he is. Okay. We are through with questions and Mitch is unfrozen.
No, I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, I'm still struggling with internet. Sorry about that.
All right. So we're out of questions. So you may proceed.
Okay. At this point, I'm done, Michael. So,
All right.
yeah, if we want you to spend the time on something else, I'm fine with that too.
Fantastic.